Hi, everybody. Welcome to another exciting episode of Pitch Us. Super excited to have Bob Worsley with us today, one of the founders of ZenniHome. My name is Tim Cooley. I am the author of the pitch deck book. I've been reviewing pitch decks for the last 5-6 years. I've seen thousands of them, and I really just love helping people present better. I'd say about 80% of people who pitch actually just forget stuff. And if you forget something, there's a higher likelihood of getting a no. And so I want to make sure that just doesn't happen anymore. And so, Bob, thanks again for being here. And we'll just jump into it. So please share your screen and then pitch us.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, everyone. I'm going to take you through what is a ZenniHome. But first, let me give you a little background about myself. I came from PricewaterhouseCoopers. Spent about 10 years as a CPA. When I was 35, I started SkyMall, the in-flight shopping catalog, and sold it 13 years later to Rupert Murdoch. Worked for him for a couple of years and then started about a dozen other companies, 2 IPOs, 4 exits, over $200 million. We have a family office of about $150 million, where we own about 100,000 acres of land, master plan for a city, 1 million acres of mineral rights, where we develop real estate, mining ventures, renewable energy projects, and now manufacturing of affordable, sustainable housing. I was a senator in Arizona Senate after winning 6 primary and general elections, and I retired in 2019. I was named Arizona Legislature of the Year in 2018 and E&Y Entrepreneur of the Year in 1999. I think I'm the only guy in Arizona that's ever accomplished both of these accomplishments. So I'd like to now paint a picture for you about what we are. What you'll see on your screen is 2 units, a 1-bedroom and a 2-unit small home. And we have those designed in such a way that they can be, after they come out of the factory, they can be stacked. 5 stories over podium. This particular building on the right is about a 75-foot tall mid-rise building. And what's really cool is that these can be used different ways. The reason we use ZenniHome, we think less is more. People want freedom, flexibility, simplicity. The big homes and the big mortgage payments of the past are kind of passing. And we're all about giving people something smaller, but it's still a great house. We build with a steel frame, a chassis, kind of like an automobile. This is half of our large unit. It's very, very beefy steel that's been designed so that you can drop these units in a backyard as an ADU, a granny flat type of thing, a casita next to a pool. Or these can be stacked. The same exact product coming off the factory line can be stacked into a beautiful building like this. This will actually be used extensively as almost like dorm living across the street from ASU's new film school in downtown Mesa, Arizona. And then we can also ramble the products so they can be staggered. This is a 75 by 100-foot lot in Mesa, Arizona. That's now a 6-bedroom home, 1,920 square feet, but it was comprised of 3 of our 2-bedroom homes dropped and tied together with that lid on top to kind of give it a mid-century modern look. Just to give you a quick idea, this is what they look like on the inside. It's very exciting. This is an MIT spin-out called Ori Living that makes furniture that transforms. We're the first home in the country that's designed around robotic transforming furniture. I'll let you see it again. That's a master bedroom. It's a living room. It's an office. The other bedroom in the house is also transformable to be a bedroom, a living room, a dining room, an office, as well as a workout room. So we believe in trying to take the same square feet and drive it to serve many purposes. What we're attempting to do here is to emulate car manufacturing. We're modeling our factory after what Tesla has done in their gigafactories. But to do that, you have to agree that you're not going to change the floor plan. These are two models that don't change. We can change colors, but we don't change where walls are, where plumbing is, etc., thereby giving robotics a chance to build a lot of units very quickly and very cost effectively. For example, this is the digital twin of our future expansion of our factory in Page, Arizona. If I pause here really quick, you'll see out in the distance here a building. That's where we're currently building up to 3 homes a day manually. And the factory expansion will be this 300,000 square foot factory designed by the Swedes, where they do 80% of all their homes, manufactured homes. All the homes in Sweden are about 80% are coming out of a factory. So we're very excited about this. And we have 1,000 acres leased from the Navajo Nation, and to build up to 30 units a day on our site. This is our current factory. It's all manual. We did this because it was recommended to us by Sandy Monroe, who consults with General Motors, Ford, Toyota, Tesla, that you build your first homes manually. Don't put automation in. You won't see any cranes in the building, etc. We're building these carefully, getting the bugs worked out of the plans so that each of these units can then go into an automated factory. And these are 3 homes a day out of this factory. And we'll have 25 homes a day out of the automated factory for almost a total of 30 homes out of this facility. This just shows you when they're finished, they're tarped outside. They look like a shipping container. They're 40 feet long. 2 of these make 1 home. They get mated and married in the, you can see a model out here. 2 of these make a half, each half makes a whole. The deck hinges up. The awning on the deck is shipped separately, but is installed in the field. The problem we're solving: 6.5 million homes short in the United States. Housing costs have tripled since 2000. And just in the last year, we've seen interest rates almost 3 times, but over 2 times increased mortgage payments. So there's a major gap for high quality attainable housing under $300,000. And constructional methods are not getting there. We're going to build the Tesla of housing in a factory as I've shown you here. Our value proposition is we'll have these 2 models that don't change except color. They go through a robotic factory, and we're able to stack them with recycled steel chassis I just showed you. And because the transforming nature of the furniture on the inside, a 320 square foot home lives like 1,000 feet, and a 6,400 square foot home lives like about 1,500 square feet. We are going to market through B2B and B2G channels. We're negotiating a 1,000 home contract with the Navajos. We're negotiating with FEMA to take hundreds of homes to Hawaii, where the community on Maui was burned to the ground. We're working with most of the big apartment builders in the country, and we're working with hospitality folks who want to turn these into a branded hotel or just a glamping opportunity or a vineyard. We've got a contract with a vineyard we're doing in southern Arizona, and they can be also workforce housing or build to rent. So think of schools out in the remote areas, oil fields, mining operations, hospitals, factories that need places for their workers to work, and they can't afford that. We also will do these as just an ADU in the backyard of your home. We're looking to save developers 30% of cost and 50% of schedule, twice as fast as building traditional. We are different because we're called fast housing, factory built, advanced tech inside and in the factory, sustainable and stackable, transportable. Again, we can do this with because we've got that steel frame chassis that allows you to stack these units. We have a world-class team. 4 of us have started unicorns previously. Jerry Coleman, most notably here, just joined our board. Invitation Homes, $27 billion public company he started. OfferPad, another $1 billion company he started this public. Stephen James is working for a $7.6 billion real estate company as a chief vision officer for them. Mindy Rex started Autoval, a very large, the newest factory in America up in Nampa, Idaho, very roboticized. Chris Loeffler started Caliber. We have some great people on our team here. We will be in the next 12 months building 70,000 and shipping $70 million of product, 500 homes, and we'll break even by the end of 2024. You'll see here that 2025 will improve, and then we'll have a large jump when the new factory comes online. In 2026 and 2027, we plan to do $1 billion out of the Page facility, and that will cover most of the Southwest. We're planning an IPO in 3 to 5 years or some other strategic exit for those who want to invest and see that exit out there. We're doing a Series A $25 million round at a $75 million valuation, $7 a share. We're doing that in 5 different buckets. If you want to go on WeFunder, a $250,000 minimum investment. They're on WeFunder. We're their hottest stock right now on WeFunder. If you go there, look at ZenniHome. We have 3 accredited investor opportunities for those who are able to be accredited, Reg D investors. Either Opportunity Zone, a convertible note with an 8% coupon, or just a straight preferred share purchase. Or we even have, for those looking for an EB-5 visa, an $800,000 investment, we can actually get you a green card in 12 months because of where we are with the factory, and get you a citizenship 5 years after that. So those are the different concurrent offerings. They're all being offered at the same share price, preferred share price. Thank you very much. I'm happy to take questions.
Awesome. First of all, thanks for presenting. This is really an interesting space. It'll go into my feedback, but I just got to say, there's a lot of good things if people are watching and listening to you present to take away from this. One, you're clearly comfortable in doing this. This isn't the first time you've done it. It's definitely practiced. Whether it is practiced or not, it doesn't come off like it's the first time you're doing it. And then you're just really easy to listen to. So it's clear you've got a public background and everything that you mentioned. Your guys' team is phenomenal. So for the product that you're building, the team makes complete sense. And for founders that are out there, this is the team you want, right? Like everyone matches the skill sets and they can prove that they could get this thing off the ground is really what you're trying to accomplish. The traction you guys have so far is amazing as well. So, I mean, as far as like a pitch goes, this is a really good pitch. There's just a couple areas I think that I could help you with. But overall, this is probably one of the best ones we've seen on the show. But yeah, I mean, great job all around. Really easy to follow. But again, like I said, everybody can do better. And so I'd love to give you some ideas on how to make this better. The first one, and this is where I usually start with people, if anybody watches the show, is I would combine your ask slide and this thank you, really contact me slide all into one. If you've noticed, even though I know this is a show, but we've stayed on this slide for a really long time, and you've probably presented to many investors, your last slide gets the most airtime. And so if you can combine all like a recap of what you're doing, the ask, milestones, and everything all into one slide, it actually is a better slide to end with than just a phone number and an email. So
great.
We'll start there.
Uh-huh.
So let's go back to the problem slide. I really like the way that you showed the solution, but I do think there is something that I want to talk about when it comes to your problem slide, and you address it a little bit later. And I'll point that out. So typically when, and again, a lot of this is feedback for people listening, but I also want to give it to you. So this isn't what I call an industry problem. There's a shortage of houses, there's a shortage of houses that cost under $300,000. Those are all industry problems, which makes sense for you because you're selling B2B and B2G, right? I've seen probably 4 other pitches in this world of ADUs, and they're going after the consumer. And so if we think about it, and again, this is something to think about as for investors or people listening, is you got to match the problem to the buyer, and you did a really good job. I wish you would have said earlier who you're going after initially, because like I said, I've seen a lot of these and I'm like, oh, you're another ADU company, another one doing in manufacturing. But the focus is what's interesting in here. And when you get back to traction, when you're like, look, we've already partnered with these people, we've got these partnerships, now the traction makes sense for who you're going after. But it took, I think, it took a lot of slides for us to get there. And I think it would have been nice to have that information earlier on. Because like I said, I have seen quite a few of these, but it was like, oh, I see what's happening here. I will caution that because I don't, what I could say is I would say it more like this way. Developers are looking for more sustainable things. The government's looking to back people to do more things. Therefore, we built a company that does these things. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I think your background combined with that quick phrase then leads me down into why you're doing manufacturing, why it's built on the Navajo land, why it's ABCD. Like all these things make sense now that you've kind of framed it in a certain light. Does that make sense?
It does. And the fact that I served in government in the Senate in Arizona, the governor of Arizona is here in Salt Lake tomorrow. I'm taking her to dinner alone.
Okay.
And so I'm connected, like you said, by being in politics, I'm connected. So it's easier to get a B2G off the ground.
Exactly. So I think like leading with all that and then why you're doing what you're doing, then lead into the solution will help just root us. And then you're going to come back to this, grand slide. There's a lot of context and text here, which is fine. I normally don't recommend it, but it's not like you're reading it. And so everyone knows that you've put the work in. So you're not reading it, which is how a slide like this can work. Because it's like, no, we've put a lot of thought into this. It's not like I didn't just hire my nephew to throw some slide together. Maybe you did. I don't know. But you know what I'm saying? So let's go back. I don't remember what order the slides are in right now.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. I love this demo. I usually don't recommend video because it can go wrong. Sometimes it doesn't work. But you have a stable internet connection for whatever, like everything seemed to work. But I will caution people, it doesn't always work. So this one worked really well for us. So that was fine, but sometimes it doesn't work. So think about a way I would suggest to do this without the video, even though you spoke over the video very, very well. But if there's a way to do it without it, it can make it just less glitchy at times.
Got it.
All right. The other thing that so go forward. So I like to go problem solution. You did that. And then getting into the finances. One thing that was not in the deck is actually how much the thing costs. Like you give us this little breakdown, but you don't say how much an individual unit costs.
Yes. And so, yeah, I should have mentioned that here with the original units. This unit's 125,000, and the one bedroom unit is 90,000. Thank you.
To me, the buyer, or to you, to you?
That's the cost to someone. We sell it out the door at 90 and 125 at the factory.
Oh, yeah, perfect. Okay, cool. Yep. Yeah, so I think that would have been a nice thing to add. If you go a little bit further and go into that finance slide that you have, a slight modification I would add there is okay, so one thing that I would do here is you might be able to remove some of this text here, but it's not terrible. But one thing I would do is add on the bottom here like a little table of units that are going out or partnerships that you have or whatever, like some kind of KPI metrics. So I love that you explained, and this is a great great explanation that you did here with this finances. Like that big bump is when the factory goes live.
Yes.
One thing for people listening, you got to be able to explain the numbers if they look weird. And anybody would be like, how do you go from 236 to 751? Like that's a crazy jump. And
Yep. You
then,
go
but you
from
did a great job of it.
3 homes a day to 30 homes a day almost.
Yep. And so what I would do is add at the bottom here is like year 1 or 23 is, we did 100 homes. I'm making up numbers. Year 2 is 200. Year 3 is 300. Now we're getting into 700. I'm just making up numbers.
Yes.
But
yes,
putting them here helps me stay with you as well.
Yep.
So yeah, I think I wanted to point that out. That was a great thing that a lot of people don't do. The market size here, I think, is missing, considering if we go back to like that, we don't need to change it. But if we look at that problem statement slide, it's how many governments are looking for this, or how many, if you're going after, let's say the reservations, it's like there's 1,000 houses at a reserve. I don't know, I'm making up things, but you know what I mean? It's like, this is a hard one to do from a buyer perspective, not a shortage perspective. Like who is trying to buy these houses? And then you separated it by kind of 3 different tiers. You have residential, which we already talked about, sort of tough one to say, because it's like, now I have to buy the land or I have to put it in my backyard. That's difficult. And they've proved that difficult in California. And certain restrictions are applied to that. There's a whole bunch to that. The apartment complex or the multi-unit's a really interesting thing. And it's like, that's a whole market segment on its own. And then I think if you would have pulled out the government side of it as well, I think that those if we could have seen, especially the B2B side and that B2G from a market valuation point of view, I think maybe doing that from a bottom-up approach could have helped. You don't really need it, but for other people listening, it is something you need to do. Like, does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think just sharing the market in a numeric way based off of, we sell 90,000 units. If everybody, these types of graphics or demographics were to buy it, it would be a $800 billion business or whatever. I think that just helps connect us to it. Go forward a slide. I do like this area was really nice. I think if you would have added that back with, how you did your whole presentation of like the videos and stuff.
Yes.
This could have also stayed with those, and it would have just kept the flow going out really, really well. Because right now, like, you kind of went away from the solution, and then you told me a little bit about the company, and then you went back to the solution. And I like to keep it all in one place.
Yep. Got it.
All right. Move forward a little bit. Yeah. Like I said, your team is amazing. Financials. One thing that I would do, and this is what I just tell people, is people like to go problem, solution, pricing, or business model. And because if I'm going to sell you something, I'm going to sell you windows. And I'm like, look at all the nice benefits. The only question in your brain is, how much does it cost? And so it's nice to get the numbers right after you get the solution, because we're just waiting, And then you go business model, financial forecast, market. That's the way I like to teach people. You did a great job. As long as you have all the elements there, that's a big deal. But if you're looking for a smoother flow, I recommend putting it there. But you did a great job. Again, I want to preface, this was a great presentation. You have all the elements, but some people don't, and they skip complete slides. So just putting that out there. All right, go to the next slide.
Oh, okay.
Okay, cool. All right, so there's a lot on this. Typically, let's see. Raising cash. Okay, so you're raising for a 36-month runway. That's a really important thing to call out.
Yes.
Preferred. Yep. Okay. So a couple things. I might want to get someone's help on a user interface of this, because this is really hard to read. And you stayed on this slide for a very short period of time. So none of us, I didn't get a chance to read it while you were talking. But there's a lot on here. So one thing I would pull out visually is the uses, like what the $25 million is using for. You don't need to do it numerically. You could do it visually, like in a pie chart or percentages or something like that. I want to know the milestones that you plan to hit. So these are like it's like the milestones, and then the use of funds are two different categories. It's like that's so I like to see those two elements. Oh, you have them here. OpEx, CapEx money for factories will be provided. Like, yeah, I think it would be like phase 1 of factory 1 will be done by year 1. Phase, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And then the question is, a lot of people raise money for like 12 months. I think maybe what you want to do when you're speaking is to say, look, factories take a long time to build. This is for 36 months for a full factory build out, blah, 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 and our sales channel and our thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that the 36 month in today's market, I don't want to be back in 12 months raising money again. So that's
I hear you.
The 36 month runway, given this market.
Yeah, then that's one thing you could say too. Like I said, typically, again, for the listeners, most people raise between 12 and 18 months. In the last couple of years, we're starting to see that to go to 24 months because, again, people don't want to be capital raising forever in this market. And then go to the next slide. Okay. I did like this, especially for the forum that we have. It's just if people are listening and they want to be involved, that's great. And this is more of a conversation, is some investors don't like that people can crowdfund alongside with you. Some prefer these other 4 to be exclusive. And I just think it's an interesting conversation, and it's really investor to investor, whether they care or not.
I would say this
format it worked out well.
This approach of concurrent offerings is very rare.
Yeah.
The attorneys told us they don't see this very often, but we wanted to have a democratized fundraise. So people that can only afford $250 pay the same price as a venture capitalist that normally is doing the Reg D, the Series A Reg D.
Which again is very rare. I think I know that's rare. People listening, you might hear us say that this combination is very rare, especially with this immigration program that is very uncommon. And then especially this opportunity zone. Those are two things that we rarely ever hear about, even in the venture world. The crowdfunding, accreditation, and convertible debt are very common. So these other two are kind of unique. And then go to the next slide. I think that's your thank you slide.
Yep.
Yeah. Awesome.
And that's that's my cell phone, so I take calls from anybody.
Okay, perfect. So again, I got to highlight, I thought the presentation was great. You hit all the major points other than pricing. I think that was the only one really missing. And then lightly the milestones that you plan to accomplish, other than you're like, we're building a factory. I get that. So I think those two are the elements that I would say we're just missing. But other than that, I really enjoyed listening to the presentation itself, and you made a compelling argument. So great job there.
Thank you, Tim.
Yeah. Any questions for me before we sign out?
I think it's great. Thank you for your help.
Cool. Yeah, absolutely. Well, again, thanks for being here, Bob. This was amazing. And for those who are out there, please apply to the show. This is free. I love doing this. And then check out the book. It goes through all the necessities of a pitch. And then we'll see you all next time.